Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I cannot believe it's already July, which means that a lot of us are doing one book July. And because I just shared a whole flip through of my pocket rings that I will link up here. I think it's on this side. I always mess up the side. It might be on this side. I didn't want to just flip through the book again. So I thought it would be kind of fun to walk through how I built like what would go into that planner and kind of map out what I was considering, because when we're using one planner, as you guys know, it's not that much space. So you really have to be concise and condense what you have and make sure it's not all fluff and it's actually the stuff that you need on a day-to-day. So I kind of like to mind map things out just because I find it helps me to kind of like organize my thoughts. And I actually use a program called XMind, which I'm showing right here. And this is really nice because, you know, I can just throw down all of my thoughts, but then I can always like move things around depending on where I think ultimately it should go. I don't know, it's just kind of a nice way to like brainstorm, organize your thoughts, but you know, because it's in a program, I don't have to like scratch it out and rewrite it, so it just keeps it neat. So this is kind of just like the overview of my one planner system. And as you can see, like I have the three main sections being planning, projects, and kind of this other. And how I determined that those were the three main areas that I wanted in my planner is pretty straightforward. All I really did was look at my day-to-day planning and see what sections that I actually use day-to-day. And then of course there are, you know, pages and stuff that you kind of visit, but really like you don't really look at it. And it's just kind of there to like look nice, or like you'll look at it once a year or whatever. Those are things that you likely do not need, obviously, in your planner. And what I actually do is I throw those into my Notion. I just find like Notion is like the perfect way to track those kind of like things that you might want to visit at some point, but you really don't look at day to day, but you just don't want to lose. And I did like a whole video on Notion that I'll link up here for you, that I kind of walk through really like the basics of how to use it. So if you're completely new or have heard of it but kind of like get a little bit overwhelmed by how complex some of these Notion databases are, maybe that one will help you. But yeah, it's kind of nice to just like have one spot to track those ideas. And I don't like to do it in one planner because, you know, as you guys know, like I am planner hopping all the time, and year to year you switch planners, and like I just want to have a place that I can go back to. So yeah, highly recommend you check Notion for that kind of stuff. But that's how I came up with like the planning, the projects, and the ideas, because those are really the things that I look at on pretty much a day-to-day basis, or kind of like every other day or week. So then I'll drill down into each of those sections, but planning is pretty straightforward. It's all the stuff to do with my like daily, weekly, like the actual plans. And then I have a project section because, you know, we're always have like projects on the go. And sometimes things that are like smaller, you might not think of as a project, like for example, like gardening. Doing your garden is a project, right? Like it's not a one-step task. You can't get it really done in one day. Maybe if you're just doing some light weeding or whatever. But like a lot of these things that we think of that are tasks are really actually projects because they're multi-steps, right? And that's really like been ingrained in me from following the GTD method by David Allen, which I've talked about a ton on this channel. So I find that I really like to have a project section in my planner because for example, like my trips, I usually like to have like 2 or 3 bigger trips planned in the year, and I like to have a project section to keep track of those, because sometimes I'm just going about my day and I think, oh shoot, I need to pack this item even though it's like a trip in the future, that I'll write down into like my travel planner inserts that I keep in the project section. And then I kind of have this other section that captures everything else that I'm missing. And also I just want to mention that what I'm going to be sharing will be applicable to like any type of planner. So even though I'm using a ring planner, you don't have to. You can obviously apply this very easily into a notebook, which I know are so popular this year. Oh, it just kills me. Or a disc planner, or whatever type of planner. You can basically apply or draw ideas from this system. And obviously, you don't have to do it for July either. It's just for any time that you feel like you need to condense into one planner. Okay, so now let's kind of drill down into more of the details. So within my planning section, I again broke it down into what are the key things I actually do on a day-to-day, week-to-week for planning. So I've broken this into tasks, calendar/agenda, and finances. Now, these are just the 3 most important pillars for me as part of my planning, but obviously everybody's can be different, but I think most of us will encompass at least these 3 pillars. So for me, first with my tasks is some way to track all of my tasks and manage all of my tasks, ideas, to-dos, everything. So when I say tasks, I really mean also like events, ideas, anything that kind of pops into my head that I want to track. I need somewhere to be able to kind of like store that item so that I can revisit it or do something with it that day, that week, that month, or maybe that year or a future year. And so of course, with my task management, I really use the GTD method by David Allen. And I really find that his system helps to address all of these items. He's kind of given you somewhere or some way to address each of the items in some sort of category, so it just feels a lot more manageable. Now, if you guys aren't really familiar with the GTD method, I have a video kind of talking about like the overview of how to use the method, and I'll link it right here and kind of explain how the system works in a pretty simple way, I think, if you don't want to read the book. Of course, I always recommend people to read the book or listen to the audiobook. You can listen to it for free, basically on Audible. I'll link everything down below. So I just find that's a really great way to like track all my tasks so I make sure that I don't lose them. I know some of us like to put our tasks just in like a daily list, but for me, what I don't like about that is that like if I don't complete those tasks, which I like frequently don't in one day, then I have to like migrate it to the next day or whatever, and it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, so then the next area of my planning is obviously like my actual calendar/agendas. And so for this area, really, it comprises of like monthly, weekly, and dailies. But for me, I find, if I'm being honest with myself, I don't really look at a monthly view very much. I'm definitely more of a weekly and a daily planner, but some of you guys could be a monthly and a daily planner or a monthly and a weekly planner. I used to be like just a weekly planner and like no dailies. But now I really like dailies because I find that like when I was just doing weeklies, I would only look at my planner like at the end of the week sometimes if I was lazy, or at the beginning of the week, and then just be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember what's going on, and then like I don't. But daily planning has really forced me to like re-look at what's going on the next day. So then, and you know, during that day, if I don't look, it's more likely that I'm actually remembering what's going on because I looked the night before. So yeah, but it'll be different for each of us. And then the other thing that I really like to incorporate now in my planning is my habit tracker. And again, habit tracking can look different for each person as well. I know some of us like to have like kind of like a monthly or a yearly habit tracker view where you have like one insert or one page where you're kind of tracking all your habits and you revisit it each day and track it that way, like after you've done the habit. But for me, my habit tracking is really more like as a reminder or almost like a task like that day to go do that item. So really the things that I have on there is like, did I drink my water? Like, did I take my vitamins? That kind of stuff. And I really prefer to have those on my like weekly or daily spreads. And that's how I incorporate my habit tracking. But of course, you guys could maybe have like a little section within your planning that encompasses the habit tracking. So that's kind of how I set up my calendar and agenda pages. And yeah, I just really focus a lot on my weeklies and my daily. And then the last section that I have that I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of cheated, is the finances. So for me, like I cannot track my finances in my planner. To write down all the numbers and like sum numbers up manually just like goes against everything I know as an accountant. So I really do all of my finances, budgeting, all that kind of stuff on my computer, just in an Excel spreadsheet that I've kind of built a little model around. And I just think that's so much easier. But yeah, I wanted to mention it because it is something that I use, and I know a lot of you guys obviously track your finances as well. Okay, so that pretty much encompasses all of my planning section. Okay, so the next big section, like I mentioned, is my projects, and I always have projects on the go. And how I kind of just categorize them is really just like current projects and future projects. So current projects are the ones that I think are kind of like the upcoming ones, maybe the ones that I'm really working on right now, or for travel plans, like my next big trip is usually like what I call a current project. So it just kind of depends probably person to person how you want to classify current versus future if you're going to track it that way as well. But for the current ones, what I like to do is actually have some sort of like project bundle inserts or travel bundle inserts, because I'm writing details related to the project. And so I want like space to write those details. Whereas for my future projects, so like if I have a trip that's like, sometimes I book a trip that's like 8 months out, right? Like those I'm not really going to be thinking about yet until like my next trip is over, and then I'll think about the one after that. So for those, I like to kind of just list them out to track that these are projects that are kind of upcoming. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. That's just the projects area. And if you guys are wondering what app that I'm using, it's an app called XMind, like I mentioned. And what I love about it is that it's really user friendly, and it gives you some like general templates if you don't want to start from scratch, or you can obviously have a blank canvas and kind of create what you want with a mind map. For me, sometimes it's nice to like kind of have like a structure already there for me, and then I can just see which structure works best for what I'm trying to do. And what I love about it, like I said, it's super user friendly, and the functions, like while there are a lot of functions, they're very easy to use. For me, I'm pretty basic in that, I'm just adding a square and I just want some lines to where it goes. I want to be able to like move boxes around if I like decide that they shouldn't go where I first put it. And I love that it just like looks cute and pretty. You can add like these cute little stickers, and there's just like so many options. And then as well, there's like illustrations. They have what they call these little markers, which are kind of like the little icon stickers that we use in like an actual planner, and you can insert them wherever you want. And you kind of have all these color themes that you can choose from as well that just make it look really pretty. And it's like, not complicated. You don't have to think about it yourself. It's just all there for you. And then of course they have like so many different chart types or mind map types. And yeah, it just makes it super easy. I love it, especially for this kind of stuff where I'm trying to like figure out my planner system. You just come up with all these things that you want to put into your planner, but you don't know what section it should go to. And it's just nice to dump it somewhere and then like organize it as you go. If you guys are interested in XMind, I will leave the link below. And the great thing about it is they have like a completely free version, so you don't have to pay anything for it. You can just get started and use it. And then as well, I will leave my template down below. And so you can take this template if you want it as a reference point or as a starting point to build your own planner system. And then really the last one is just kind of like an other all-encompassing miscellaneous whatever else. But in my other, what I like to track is like some reference information. So contact information for trips and travel. I like to have like a little one-pager on there, a grocery list of key things that I, just to jog my memory of what I need to get at the grocery store. And so those are kind of like the referencey type items, I guess. And then what I also keep in my other section is more like ideas or inspiration. So if you guys saw that planner flip through, I really like to have like some Pinterest printouts. I just had printouts of kind of fashion wardrobe outfit ideas that I curated on Pinterest, and then I just printed it onto pocket size and put them in my planner. And if I'm ever like browsing or online shopping or at the store, I can kind of flip through and find the inspo of like what I'm trying to look for. And yeah, so I kind of like that. And that's pretty much all I have in one planner. And to be honest, like I've set up so many planners, and there's been times where I just like go all out and try to put everything into one planner, and it's like so big, so heavy, and I literally don't look at any of it. And so I've been really like trying to be conscientious of like, what do I actually need? Like before, I always use a 30mm ring planner. Like it was just like a no-brainer. I would use like the biggest rings possible. But now, with my pocket, it's only 25mm. Yes, 25mm from BDS. And so like, it's not like 19mm, but I've definitely like downsized, and I just find it's like just so much more efficient, less fuss, super functional, and that's exactly how I like it. So that's how I put together my one book for July, really for the rest of the year. Hopefully, like I've talked about, I'm really like a 1-2 planner max, but preferably one planner. Might not be the same one planner for the rest of the year. I'm not going to make any promises. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be using for now. And I will obviously keep you guys posted here and on my Instagram if I decide to change and whatnot. So follow me there if you guys want the live updates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.